For wild animals, life is all about survival. And in this battle for their own place in the natural world, each has adapted in amazing ways, evolving unique abilities and anatomical mutations, allowing them to thrive in even the toughest environments. But in this big, bad world, how do the planet's smallest creatures manage to stay alive? Being tiny brings huge challenges. But for some species, it's the key to their success. These miniature creatures have turned their lack of size into a secret weapon. Whether it's finding a mate, adapting to extreme environments, or outsmarting their much larger predators, these animals have learned to use their size in extraordinary ways to survive. In our planet's most spectacular habitats, it's often the largest and the deadliest that get the most attention. But 90% of Earth's creatures are no bigger than a human fingertip. So how do the smallest animals survive in the big wide world? For all creatures, finding food comes high on the list of priorities. But for nature's smallest animals, it can prove an almighty task. Dawn in the cloud forests of South America. And this booted racket-tail hummingbird is looking for his next meal. As one of the smallest birds on Earth, he weighs less than a coin. Yet he is constantly on the verge of starvation. Hummingbirds flap their wings 80 times each second. And their hearts beat at 1,000 times a minute. But this high-speed lifestyle comes with a big disadvantage. Hummingbirds burn energy faster than any other bird or mammal alive and need to drink up to 2,000 times a day just to survive. But each flower only has a limited supply of nectar. So hummingbirds have been forced to adapt to fight off the competition. More than 30 species of hummingbird share the tiny racket-tail's rainforest. And the bigger birds use size and strength to guard their favorite flowers. So how does the tiny booted racket-tail compete? Spotting an opportunity, the racket-tail maneuvers towards this pair of larger hummingbirds, doing battle over breakfast. Whilst they're fighting it out, the smaller, more agile racket-tail sneaks in, unnoticed. The cheeky little bird feeds and flies away before being spotted. It seems that being the smallest can sometimes be an advantage in the fight for food. For nature's smallest creatures, the challenge of finding food can be immense. While most work solo to get their fill, one tiny predator uses another animal to source its prey. In the heat of the Galapagos, some of the island's most prolific hunters are resting after their morning fishing trip. But on the nearby rocks, another predator has these sea lions in its sights. This lava lizard is patiently waiting for them to drop their guard so he can move in for the kill. To get close, this tiny carnivore uses his secret weapon: camouflage. On this rocky beach, he is almost invisible. The lizard has singled out its prey, but it's not the sea lion he is after. It's the insects on its fur. Flies provide much-needed nutrition for the lizard, while the lizard offers a valuable service in return: free pest control. Flies are a constant irritation and can cause infection and disease. So even though this Galapagos reptile is small, it plays an important role in controlling insect populations amongst the sea lions, getting itself a free meal in the process. But not all miniature creatures need a helping hand to find food. Some of nature's smallest can punch well above their weight. As night falls here in the Philippines, a miniature assassin emerges. The Tarsier. It might look super cute, but this island's smallest predator is also one of its deadliest. The Tarsier is so small it can fit inside a human hand. But this tiny primate has incredible night vision, thanks to its enormous eyes, which are even bigger than his brain and stomach. Its eyes are so big, they are fixed in his skull. Fortunately, like an owl, he can rotate his head 180 degrees, helping him target potential prey. This mini killer is honing in on a huge cricket. It may be out of sight for now, but that doesn't stop the Tarsier. Using his equally acute hearing, it closes in on the cricket's exact location. And strikes. The tiny Tarsier's anatomy makes it a silent assassin. Extra long ankle bones work like shock absorbers, helping it to jump and land quietly. Whilst it eats and scans for more prey, special adhesive pads on its feet help it stick to branches. This petite primate has a huge appetite and will hunt like this all night long. The Philippine Tarsier goes to show that tiny hunters are not to be underestimated. But sometimes being small also means taking on huge obstacles. Perhaps nowhere more so than on the island of Hawaii. These freshwater pools look like the perfect habitat for a fish to call home. However, only a few contain fish because of this. A colossal waterfall. Surely impossible for any animal to scale. But one fish is willing to try. Just 5 centimeters long, this tiny goby is on a quest to reach its freshwater spawning ground. But conquering this waterfall will be like a human climbing Mount Everest 3 times. Using suction cups on its body, the little goby relies on a film of water to climb through. And it's not alone. Others begin to follow. They must fight against the flow, holding on to the rock for their lives. For some, the task is just too great. And many gobies die attempting this almost impossible feat. But against all odds, a few do make it, all the way to the top. Here, they can feed, grow, and eventually breed. Then the goby's life cycle will continue as their own young will be swept downstream once more. The fresh waters of this island provide a home to these minuscule fish that perform an amazing physical feat. But they aren't the only tiny creature to pack a surprising punch. One of the strongest animals on Earth is also one of the smallest. For most creatures, size equals strength. But when it comes to pure power, one little insect is head and shoulders above the rest. Central Turkey, home to a pint-sized powerhouse who is big on recycling. This dung beetle has found a pile of tortoise dung, a precious prize. A ball this big will provide him with a juicy meal and all the moisture and nutrients he needs. But the hard work has only just begun. It's almost twice his weight, but it must be rolled away for safekeeping. He covers the ball in earth to prevent it drying out. However, he's not alone. Another male has smelt the dung from over 800 meters away. Thievery is rife here. He challenges the rightful owner to a fight. It's a battle to show who's the strongest. and with a winning move, the original beetle wins. But a far greater obstacle now stands in his way. Getting it to safety. Speed is of the essence. Too long in the sun can dry his prize out, losing its nutritional goodness. Thankfully, pound for pound, he's stronger than an elephant. Dung beetles can push balls 10 times their own weight. Even a hill won't stand in his way. But what goes up must come down. And at last, he buries his hard-earned prize into the ground. A mighty accomplishment for such a tiny creature. There are limits to what one little animal can achieve, all on its own. But if they work together, even the smallest creatures can conquer nature's biggest challenges. It's late July in the Amazon, and water levels are rising. To survive, animals must adapt to these new conditions. High up in the canopy, one of the jungle's smallest species are busy moving home. Leafcutter ants might be micro, but these social insects are nature's finest architects. Normally, they build nests underground, but this colony is swapping the forest floor for the treetops, avoiding the annual floods so they can continue their work without interruption. It's an enormous task for such small insects, possible only because of their numbers. One colony can contain up to 8 million individuals. With a long day ahead of him, this ant gets to work. First, he selects the freshest and juiciest foliage. His powerful jaws bite through the cellulose with ease. Vibrating 1,000 times a second, they can slice through any plant they come into contact with. Next, he must haul the pieces back to the nest. Leafcutter ants can carry leaves weighing up to 50 times their own body weight. Back at the nest, the leaves are processed, turning them into compost by adding their own feces. Over time, a highly nutritious fungus grows, and that is what these ingenious ants were waiting for. It's fed to the young, so maintaining the garden is crucial to the survival of the colony. Despite their size, these ants have become one of the most resilient residents in the Amazon. Teamwork has enabled them to thrive in this changing environment. The planet's smallest animals have learned how to find food and overcome massive challenges. But to ensure the survival of their kind, life's biggest task is to find a mate. And that can be tricky. Especially when you're the size of a grain of rice. Here in Australia, this female peacock jumping spider is looking for love. When it comes to romance, the female of this species likes to move quickly. If he is to seize this opportunity to mate, the male also needs to work fast. His bright colors have caught her eye, but he needs to do more to win her heart. Luckily, he's got some other tricks up his sleeve. He starts by drumming on the branch. This beat signals his intent to the female. Sense organs in her legs detect these tiny vibrations. She clearly likes what she's feeling, so moves closer. Time for the male to step things up. Unfurling his colorful fan and kicking out his legs, he tries to dazzle her. Now the real performance can begin. She's playing it cool. But for him, the stakes are high. If a male fails to impress, his life is in danger. This female has eaten her previous admirers. Fortunately, his showing off has gone down well, and she finally allows him to mate with her. But for the smaller male, his joy is short-lived. He soon becomes lunch. His body is the perfect meal to nourish their eggs. It may have cost him his life, but the minute male won the ultimate prize, a chance to father his own tiny offspring. But finding a potential mate isn't the only hurdle for small animals looking for love. For one little reptile, the real challenge is making sure the opportunity doesn't slip away. The forests of Madagascar. Home to many varieties of leaf chameleon. Being this small means they are able to feed on the tiniest insects in the leaf litter. Food which is out of reach for other chameleons. But their size can pose a problem when it comes to keeping tabs on a mate. The pygmy leaf chameleon is one of the world's tiniest reptiles. He's devised a clever trick to make sure he never misses his chance at love. First, he has to find his female. Not an easy task when you're the size of an ant. And when danger lurks at every turn. So when he does sense a female nearby, he must take action quickly. For a pygmy leaf chameleon, that's easier said than done. Finally, she's within his grasp. He can't risk losing her now. So he simply hops on her back and stays here until it's time to mate. The happy couple can stay like this for days, the two tiny creatures bonded together in the immense rainforest. The Pygmy chameleon has found a clever way to ensure he won't miss his chance to mate. But elsewhere in Madagascar, another small animal is much closer to becoming a parent. This tree frog needs to find a safe place to lay her eggs. But how best to ensure their survival? It is so wet in the forest, she doesn't need to lay them in water. The underside of a leaf will do just fine. High up, her tiny offspring should be safe. They mature extraordinarily quickly, changing from eggs to tadpoles in less than a week. However, for this spawn, it hasn't been quick enough. A wasp has spotted the tadpoles and is hoping for an easy meal. Protective jelly surrounds the young, but it's not enough. One by one, it grabs a baby. But these tiny tadpoles have their own defense mechanism. They react to the vibrations created by the hunting wasp, hatching prematurely. The jelly liquefies and the tadpoles drip down the leaf into the safe sanctuary of water below. They may be underdeveloped, but they can swim well enough to give themselves at least a fighting chance. It's a clever survival technique for tadpoles just a few days old. And it means the tiny tree frog can spend her time finding food rather than guarding her eggs. Tree frogs aren't the only small parents who face big problems sheltering their offspring. In the bamboo forests of China, one miniature family have managed to find the perfect refuge. This hole was originally made by a beetle, but the hollow stem will provide the perfect shelter for any creature that can find a way in. A bamboo bat, one of the tiniest mammals in the world. No bigger than a bumblebee, it has made these cramped conditions its new home. A colony of up to 25 can fit into one section of stem smaller than a teacup. Feeding them is a demanding job. Time for her to hunt. She manages to squeeze out of the entrance, but at just 4 millimeters wide, it's only possible due to her unusually flattened skull. Left alone, her young become an easy target for lurking predators. Unable to escape, the young bats are trapped. But the snake has no way of getting in. The hole is thinner than the width of a pencil. the tiny bamboo bat has found a safe home to match its size. But some miniature creatures have learned to build their own. And that can require very special skills. The grasslands of Mongolia, home to one of nature's smallest builders. This female harvest mouse will soon give birth to a whole new family. But first, she must build a nest. At just 8 centimeters long and weighing no more than a sheet of paper, she has her work cut out. The stems of grass tower above her like trees, but building a nest on the ground isn't a safe option. These mice have many predators. She has no choice but to make one high up there. Her size is a major advantage, enabling her to climb the thin stems. But her tail is her secret weapon, acting just like an extra limb. The female and her mate work together, selecting and trimming each blade of grass to fit their intricate design. It can take them days. But the finished nest is an astounding feat. And just in time, the litter is born after only 21 days. And they have a perfectly made nest to keep them safe. Harvest mice work as a team to build a haven for their brood. But one little mother has to bring up her babies all on her own. The long grass plains of India hide the tiniest and rarest of all wild pigs, the pygmy hog. Even an adult is just bigger than a domestic cat. And a piglet is small enough to fit into the palm of a hand. Pygmy hogs may be small, but they have big families. This fully grown female has 6 piglets to look after. She spends much of her time collecting foliage, all in order to build a nest. An unusual feat for a mammal. Not only does she make a home for her large family, she also has to put food on the table. Despite being a single parent, this little mother is excelling at the huge challenge of raising a family. All animals need to adapt to their environment in order to survive. And life here in the desert has pushed one micro-animal to the extreme. In the blistering heat of the Sahara lives the smallest canine on Earth, the Fennec fox. While it might come from the same family as the wolf, faced with the pressures of desert life, over time it has shrunk. In these food-poor conditions, it makes sense to be little. The smaller you are, the less you need to eat. The Fennec fox weighs just over 1 kilo. But it has the biggest ear-to-body ratio of any canine. And there's a reason for these oversized ears. They radiate body heat, helping it to stay cool. But it's not until night that they truly come into their own. It's time for this young male to hunt. But finding food in the dark is far from easy. His bat-like ears pick up a noise in the distance. He gets all the water he needs from his food and can survive for weeks without drinking. Even insects underground can't escape his extraordinary hearing. A scorpion with a deadly sting. Luckily, his needle-sharp teeth make quick work of disarming it. He'll hunt all night, returning to the cool of his burrow with the rising sun. A reduced body size and some remarkable adaptations have allowed the fennec fox to survive the harsh desert conditions. But while for him being small is a definite advantage, in other parts of the world, it can make life a little more challenging. In the rainforests of Brazil, primates dominate the trees. There are over 100 different species, many of them found nowhere else on Earth. But for some of the smallest among them, that means big competition. The squirrel monkey is just 30 centimeters tall. But what it lacks in size, it makes up for in agility. Because it only weighs 1 kilogram, it's able to run through the treetops, avoiding the dangers of the forest floor. But when size isn't on your side, finding food becomes a little more challenging. Luckily for the squirrel monkey, being so lightweight means they can climb to the very ends of tree branches, reaching the flowers that no other primates can get, enabling them to corner the market on a nutritious food source. For another miniature monkey of the Amazon, some remarkable adaptations are key to its survival. The pied tamarin is just under 30 centimeters tall. They've evolved minute hands with long, thin fingers, perfect for foraging in the treetops, giving them access to food larger monkeys cannot reach. Unlike other primates who have nails, pied tamarins have claws, helping them to cling to vertical tree trunks. This crucial adaptation allows them to leap great distances from tree to tree. However, this minuscule monkey also has one of the smallest ranges of any primate and is one of the most endangered monkeys in the Amazon. They have been forced to adapt further as their world is being taken over by an urban jungle. the Amazonian city of Manaus. As it spreads, their territory is constantly reducing. However, some troops have learnt to adapt and make this bustling metropolis their home. Their natural athleticism stands them in good stead for this new, hostile habitat. But pied tamarins are usually timid creatures. So to thrive in this new, hectic home, they've had to become street savvy. Unattended food is an open invitation. Those dexterous hands are perfect for grabbing the nearby temptations. But in the end, their shyness gets the better of them. This underdog of the primate world proves that when their habitat gets smaller, animals can adapt. But in one corner of our planet, it's not the habitat that has been shrinking. It's the animal itself. In the forests of northeastern Borneo, the pressures of island life has made one of nature's giants reduce drastically in size. This is the Bornean pygmy elephant, one of the rarest species on Earth, standing at just 2.5 meters tall. It is 30% smaller than its cousin, the Asian elephant. It's believed these mammals were isolated nearly 300,000 years ago, and because of their small territories and lack of competition, they've been shrinking ever since. They are the smallest elephants in the world. But with fewer than 1,500 left in the wild, very little is known about their behavior. This tight-knit family group will spend most of their day together feeding. It's thought they have a much gentler nature than other elephants due to the lack of competition for space. There may be the occasional disagreement, but all is forgotten during their favorite pastime, rolling around in the mud. Mud not only acts as a sunscreen, but also keeps insects at bay. With temperatures reaching 35 degrees Celsius, a swim is needed to cool down. Pygmy elephants are surprisingly good swimmers. However, getting out of the water is far trickier than getting in. This baby elephant has been enjoying his first dip with relatives. But climbing up the steep riverbank is an almost impossible task for one so small. A helpful nudge at the right moment is all that's needed. At the end of the day, they return to the safety of the forests. But these vital habitats are shrinking due to human encroachment, putting the future of these elephants in danger. The pygmy elephant is perhaps the rarest of our miniature marvels. But one of the most plentiful is so small they can't even be seen by the naked eye. Yet their effect on the planet is astounding. Plankton. Thousands of different types and species continuously drift through our oceans and rivers. Without these tiny living organisms, our world would be a very different place. From phytoplankton to zooplankton, each play a vital part in the food chain. They are the main food source for krill, who in turn are eaten by a variety of animals. Plankton are one of the most important species on the planet. Not only are they vital for the survival of animals, but also humans. Like plants, the tiny phytoplankton use the light from the sun to photosynthesize, producing energy. Oxygen is formed, a gas required by almost all life on Earth. These microplankton produce over half of the oxygen we breathe. Perhaps the biggest feat of any creature on our planet. They may not have size on their side, but nature's smallest animals have found their own place in this big, wide world. They've adapted, overcoming huge obstacles. And developed some extraordinary skills. They dominate our world and have turned their size into an advantage, proving that even the littlest creatures have what it takes in the fight for survival.